This is Linux Mint 21.1 and we're using the Emerald Theme Manager. As you can see, it looks quite a bit different. The single click, we've got all these different themes that we can change to. You'll need to enable Compiz, so this only works on Mate and Xfce in Linux Mint, doesn't work on Cinnamon. We've mixed and matched some of the buttons from one theme to the other, and we've changed the borders, positioning of the buttons, and much more. Let's have a look at the Emerald Themer and some of the stuff we can do with it. Once again, I'm on a virtual machine today, and this is Linux Mint 21.1 Mate desktop. This will also work on Xfce. It doesn't work for Cinnamon because Compiz doesn't work on Cinnamon. So here is the software manager, and all I've done is searched for Emerald. There it is there, and the themes, you'll see there'll be check marks up in this top right hand corner once we've finished installing, and it'll drag the themes along with it, and there they are there. Once we've got Emerald and the themes installed, we're going to install the Fusion icon. Now, it's important to note that Emerald only works with Compiz, so as far as I know you can't just run Emerald on the Mate or Xfce desktop as a standalone. So there's Emerald, there's the check mark, it's installed, the themes are installed. Now we're going to search for Fusion and install the Fusion icon. There it is there, Fusion icon. Install. Okay, so we're pretty much done. We can close the software manager, and I'm just going to bring up, this is the Compiz Settings Manager. So if we go back, and we're in the effects category, so you can see that there it is there. So if we go to effects, window decoration, so we're currently using the GTK window decorator. So let's go to the control center. We could type desktop settings into the menu. There it is there, desktop settings. We click on that. We go to Windows and we change Marco and Compositing to Compiz. At this point, we're running Compiz, and the computer basically behaves about the same. There might be a few differences. Most of the Compiz settings are fairly sane, and I generally don't notice much difference until I start tweaking up Compiz. So now that we're running Compiz, we can fire up the Fusion icon. So the flickering and whatever, that's pretty normal. We'll log out and log back in a moment once we make these changes. Here we can see the window decorator in Compiz Settings Manager. And here's the Fusion icons turned up down near the clock. So if we click on that, that's where we can change to Emerald. And here we can change from Compiz to Marco, Metacity, etc. We can reload the window manager, get to the Emerald Theme Manager there, and that one there brings up the Compiz Settings Manager that we've got up there now. So what we're going to do is change to Emerald. And as you can see, the theming's changed, and now we've got this Emerald Replace. So that's telling us that Compiz is now using Emerald as the window decorations. And as I say, you can clearly see that the theming has changed there. What I'm going to do now is just log out and log back in to refresh everything a little bit. We have logged out and logged back in. I'm going to change the desktop background just to make it a little bit easier to see the changes with the theming. And I'm also, you'll notice everything's opening up in that top left hand corner. We'll just go back into Compiz Settings again. And if we scroll all the way to the bottom, we're going to choose Place Windows, and I'm just going to put here Centered. And now that should start more in the center of the screen like that. There we go. Most likely if you're already running Compiz, you're doing it for some of the effects and so forth. So hopefully you know how to do some of those changes. If not, there's plenty of Compiz videos on my channel, so go off and have a look at those if you want to learn how Compiz works a little bit more. Let's start Emerald. And I'm going to add that to the panel. And here we've got Emerald running, or the Theme Manager tool. And if we scroll down here, this is the one that's running. There's no screenshot for it, but that's the actual one that's running there. Barrel default system theme. Now let's just go back up to the top. If we click on one, you'll see the theme changes. That's quite a bit different. Another point to note is the theme that it's concerned with is basically the frame or the outside of the window. This lighter colour on the inside is controlled by Linux Mint theme. So if we go to Appearance and then Customise, so the window border is not really going to have any effect at the moment, because you can see it's set to Mint Y, but we're getting something quite a bit different. However, the controls, if we go Mint Y dark, now we get the dark theme. We'll go back to the lighter theme for the video. So you can clearly see there that the appearance settings changes inside the windows and the rest of the system, and that Emerald is basically doing the title bar and the outside of the window frame. Go Control H on the file manager. We've now got this folder called .emerald in our home directory. So let's have a look at that. And there's .emerald. So themes, we're going to save a theme shortly, and you'll see that'll turn up in there. And the theme folder, that's the current running theme. So that's its buttons, that's its screenshot. So if we double click that, there's the screenshot of the theme itself. This .ini file, it contains all the settings. Like that, pretty. So that's the settings are actually held there, the screenshot there. So these are the global settings, which we'll get into shortly. For example here, enable tooltips is true, button fade is true, fade pulse is true. I'm going to turn some of that off in a moment, and we'll come back and have another look. And they'll probably say false at a guess. So it's pretty straightforward. You just click on the theme you want and you'll see it changes pretty much straight away, like that. So up the top here we've got two tabs, theme settings, and this one here, Emerald settings. These are the global settings. So the settings in here are applied to all themes. So for example, the tooltip, if we hover over these buttons, we get tooltip, close, maximise and minimise and so forth. So if we turn that off, sometimes it takes a few seconds for it to work. So you can see now we're not getting the tooltips. And I'm going to turn some of this other stuff off. Button fade and button fade pulse. You can see there when I hover over the buttons, they pulse and fade. So I'm going to turn those off. Here's some sliders for, these are the sliders to change the duration and so forth for those features. Title bar double click action. So if we double click the title bar, it rolls the window up, or shades, I think they call that. They call it shade. I'm going to change that to maximize restore, which is more of a default on Linux Mint. So now if I double click it, it maximizes and restores. The title bar middle click, if we bring up another window, if I middle click on that, it'll send it to the back. Now it'll send this one to the back, which is pretty much a default setting in Linux Mint, so that's fine. I'm going to leave that. The button hover cursor is a pointing finger, so we come up here, we've got the mouse cursor. As soon as we get near these buttons, you see it goes to the pointing finger. I'm going to change that to normal. And now we should stay. Once again, it takes a few seconds to make the change. There we go. It's staying as the mouse pointer now. And the bottom one I'm going to leave as it is. Now if we go back into these Emerald settings, see some other stuff's turned up down here, but this is the file we were on before. Here we can see the tooltips, fade and fade pulse are all now on false instead of true, so that's the global settings stored in that file there. And it does actually mention that up the top here, that they're stored separately. So that's where they are. So now we've set our global settings, let's get into the themes. So we were on this top theme before, and now I've clicked on this other one. If we go back into our file manager, and if we have a look in here now, the theme screenshot, for example, you see that's different. I'll just change back to this one. And now we hit that theme screenshot. So what it's doing, this theme folder in .emerald, in your home folder, in .emerald, in theme, it's loading the current running theme. So there's its buttons that it's loaded. At the top, these are all the buttons. This is the file that tells it all the settings. So if we open that up, there's all the settings for it in there, and the screenshot. So theme is the running theme. So you see there it's 9 items. If we change the theme to this one, oh, it's still 9. Usually if you go to a different theme, you're going to get different. Well, that's quite a bit different. Still 9. But again, if we click, oh, it's 16 now. It just wasn't refreshing. It appears like there's no screenshot in there. Anyway, this .ini file now contains all different information for that particular theme there. Whoops. And that one is quite a bit different. I don't know that I've seen that one before. So you can see the dramatic effect that each theme has as we move through them. So as you can see, we just click on a different theme and we get a different look and feel straight away. But you're not stuck with that. You can still go in here and edit the themes. Starting here at the engine, for example, on this one is True Glass. There's some others in there. Let's change to Legacy. You'll see all the different settings and whatever will all change with these different engines. Let's try Line. There we go. Just completely different available settings. Active window, inactive window, your buttons, frame shadows. You can click on these colors and change them. Title bar settings, and here's where you can save the theme, rename it, and so forth. Get a little bit into that. I'm not going to go through all of the settings because I simply don't know them all. The idea of the video is just point you into the general direction. So we've actually made a few changes to this theme. You know, if we go back, the changes are current now. So we've changed the theme engine from, I think, True Glass to what it is there. So the engine was True Glass, but we've changed it now. If we click on something else, and then come back, if we go back in and have a look, we're back to true glass. So what I recommend, rather than trying to save this theme, if this is the one you want, for example, we go to Edit Themes, and down here, name Pint Blue Mix. I would just give that a different name, say Demo 1. We'll just add something to the name, and let's save that. Theme saved. Now we go back to Themes, and we usually have to scroll all the way to the bottom. And there it is there. That's the same theme, renamed with Demo 1 in the name. And I recommend changing this one. So if you like that theme there and you want to run it, that's fine. You can just click on it there. However, if we close the theme manager down and restart it, I'm going to deal with this. It's very difficult to get the, there we go, the resizer. And I'll show you how to adjust that a little bit later. So you can see the problem now. We've restarted. And if we scroll down, it's not showing us which one we're actually running on, which I think is this one here. So that's why I recommend saving them. And then at least if you make changes, you can preserve the changes. So let's go down to our demo one, and we'll just run through some of the available changes. So let's just start with the frame engine. You can see we've got these other tabs here, and we've got colors and frame. So you see the corners are a little bit rounded. We can increase the rounding radius. What are they? 2.5 and 3.5. So let's just increase that. You can see that's having a bit of an effect. It's not always perfect, as you can see there. There's a little square bit sticking out. Or we can just deselect the rounding here if we want square corners. And if you click on these, you can see, it might be a bit hard to see in the video, but you can see that's highlighted with a little dotted line around it. And now the left and right arrow buttons will let you get a little bit fine tuning rather than trying to use the mouse. So we've removed the rounded corners. Let's have a look at the colors. I'm not going to try and make it pretty. I just want to show the changes. So the base color, let's just turn this down and see what happens. See, it's starting to fade away at the top. The buttons are a bit hard to see. We can click on these colors. Let's just make radical changes so that we can see the difference. There we go. So you're just going to have to basically play with all these sliders and colors to get the effects that you want. There's a few I'm going to go into in a little bit more detail. And we can actually open it up a little bit more. There we go. So there's quite a few settings. Active window on this side, inactive window on the other side. So the inactive window should look pretty much like standard, but the active window has got this new effect to it. So let's go. There's the buttons. I'll come back to that. We're going to deal a little bit more in depth with the buttons later in the video. Frame shadows, same thing here. Let's just crank this one up and see what we get. You see that's gone black all around the outside. If we change the color here again, let's go to a purple color. There we go. Now the frame borders, some of the buttons don't quite fit properly up the top. So here where it says border top, the size is 2. Let's take that up to 10 and you can see what's happened there. The space has increased a bit there. Make that a little bit bigger again. As I say, sometimes the buttons don't fit in there correctly, or you just want a little bit bigger title bar, whatever it might be. And the same with the bottom, the left and the right. And here there's a little note about changing viewports to basically force the window to update, that sort of thing. Let's do the bottom one as well. So the border is the green part and the purple is the shadow. So you can see that green border at the bottom. If we put that back to default, that'll pretty much disappear. Now you saw me having trouble trying to grab the corners here before to resize the window. Extra mouse grabs. So what I'm going to do is the right and the bottom. So there's the bottom. They're all on 0. I'm just going to bring this right up to there. I'm going to bring this one right up to there as well. And now what it's effectively done, the extra mouse grabs, it's going to make it easier for me to grab this corner. You can see how much I can move the mouse there, and I've still got the ability to grab the corner, so I can grab it way down here to resize. But if I go to the top left, it's still on the default, which is very finicky. You can see how much trouble I'm having there trying to resize, whereas if I come down here, I can pretty much just grab it. So that's extra mouse grabs, and I'm going to increase the others as well and just show you sometimes there's undesired consequences of making a change. So let's now maximize the window, and you can see it's got this area around the outside of it where the wallpaper is still coming through. So let's restore that again. We'll put these back to the defaults. And now we'll maximize again. And now you can see that the wallpaper is no longer coming through. So that's a bit of a trade-off with that one, because I know I had this problem on my own system. And once I figured out what the extra mouse grabs do, I thought, beauty, it's fixed. But yeah, it just doesn't quite look right when you go full screen. So usually if you go for a little bit extra here, you can find a happy compromise in there somewhere. That still looks like it's sort of full screen, except for this colour's a bit of a giveaway here. Let's just put that back to black. And so now hopefully that's a bit of a compromise there. And with a bit of luck, I can still sort of get in there fairly easy. I've got a little bit more room to grab the window and resize it without getting the little bit of wallpaper coming through when we're on full screen. So sometimes one setting's going to have an unwanted consequence somewhere else. So that's your frame borders and your extra mouse grabs and your shadows. What does that do? I think that was down there somewhere to begin with. There we go. So that'll probably look pretty reasonable. Once again, you can see I've taken the opacity back down. If we bring that back up here somewhere, that actually looks a little bit better as full screen. However, it looks a little bit unsightly to me like that. You might like it, each to their own. I'm only showing you sort of what the effects do. We can probably reduce that a little bit there. No, we're just shifting it around. So you're pretty much going to have to play with the settings and just see what effect they all have. But extra mouse grabs and frame borders are two that I wanted to point out. Let's now have a look at the title bar, which is the green section up the top here. So active window and inactive window. The text outline, well, the text fill. So let's just change this. We'll go with red, just to make it radically different. And there we go. So now we've got a red text up there, and we can make it not so obvious. And the text outline, let's go with green. And I can't really, so I noticed what happened there. I noticed the text changed. It got sort of clearer. There we go. The green's showing through a bit more now. So if we turn that back down, not so much. So let's just say we like the theme. That's nice. So let's just press save, and we say yes, and press close. So that theme's now saved, because once again, if we come back in, we have to scroll to the bottom again. This is our theme that we're just on. If I click on that one there, it changes to the other theme. And if I'd click back on here without saving, it's going to go to our changes now. But if I didn't press save, it would have gone back to that one, which is what it started as, the default setup. So you need to press save. If you've made a change, you need to save those changes. Otherwise, when you come out, click on another theme and go back onto the one you just changed, you're going to lose the changes. As soon as you leave that theme, the changes basically get lost. So what I want to do, I'm going to save this same theme again. So we're running on this theme. Let's go to Edit Theme. And I'm going to call this one Demo 2. So this is the same theme, just resaved as Demo 2. Now we can go back into our themes. If we scroll back down to the bottom, there's Demo 2, and we've made no changes to it. Let's have a look at our file system. So theme is the current running theme. So these buttons here are the buttons up the top here, because that one's running. And themes, we should have two in here now, Demo 1 and Demo 2. So what I want to do, this Demo 2, I like these buttons here. So I'm going to run that theme by clicking on it. And now we go back into the theme folder. That is those buttons there for Solid Slate. So I'll just make a folder here. Solid Slate. And what I'm going to do is copy just the buttons. Just going to copy these buttons, but not the theme.ini file or the screenshot. So let's copy the buttons and paste them into there. And we'll bring up the theme manager. So what I want to do is change the buttons for Demo 2. So we can see that they're the buttons that it's got, but I want to put these buttons in it. So if we go to Themes and we look for Demo 2, there's Demo 2. And what I'm going to do is just delete the buttons in this case. I recommend saving them. You know, create another file and save them, but for the demonstration, I'm just going to delete them. And if we go into the desktop, there's our desktop folder. So I'm going to copy these buttons into Demo 2. So it's now using those buttons. So the names are all the same, but the actual image is different for the button. And now if we go back into Emerald, and there's Demo 2, that's what the buttons did look like, but now they're going to look like these ones up here. So let's click on Demo 2. So we'll click on Demo 1. So that's what the buttons should have looked like on Demo 2, although we've already changed the theming. So now when we go to Demo 2, we'll get these buttons up the top here. And there they go. And you can see the close button's not quite coming through there. So let's go and fix that. Edit the theme. Let's go to the title bar. And the minimum title bar height, if we look at the buttons up the top, they look like there's a little bit bigger gap above them than below them. So the minimum title bar height is 26. Let's just crank that up to about 28 or 30. There we go. I'll go a little bit extreme so you can see it a bit easier. There we go there. So we'll come back to about 27 or 8 or something. Now they look a bit more balanced. The vertical offset and the horizontal, let's change the horizontal. Let's go out to 15. A little bit more. The close button's still not coming through. They don't all work on all themes. What we might do is I'll press save. So we saved it back as demo 2 again. Go back to the theme. We'll just change to another theme and then we'll come back down to demo 2 and see if it's no. So perhaps it doesn't like those buttons, or it needs more of an offset. Let's try the vertical offset. So that's removed the buttons. We better go back to something a bit saner there. And it's actually had a bit of a crash, so let's just quit. And we'll come back in. So I have noticed this, it does crash a little bit when you make extreme changes at times. And it's doing that. So I'm going to log out and log back in. I've actually restarted the virtual machine. Now, I know it's crashed a couple of times, but it is what it is. So there's, once again, we don't know what theme we're actually running. It looks like we're running the default, this pink blue default one here. Let's just try our demo 2. We should get a radical change. And indeed we did. We still haven't got our buttons. So let's go back to the title bar. Let's make that a little bit bigger. So perhaps it doesn't like those buttons. There's another set of buttons that I quite like. So Adonis. Let's click on this theme. So those buttons are running. Let's try these ones. So that's going to be Adonis. We'll start our file manager. And we go Control H so we can see the hidden files. Over here we're going to the desktop. There's Adonis. So Adonis is running, so these are the running buttons. So let's just copy these buttons. Now you could, because it's running, maybe that's having a problem reading the buttons. I don't know. You could actually save the theme as Adonis Demo 1 or whatever down here, switch back to something else so that it's not running, and then copy the buttons. But this does seem to work okay. So there we are there. So now what we're going to do this time, our pink blue demo 2, let's have a look in here. We're going to delete those buttons. We don't like them, or they don't like us. I'm going to copy these ones into our demo 2. And now when we change back, once again we have to scroll to the bottom. There's our demo 2, so we should get not those buttons, but we should get these buttons we're looking at now with this theme. So that's what it looked like originally, without all the color changes. They were the buttons. But demo 2 should have those other buttons. There they are. So all 3 of them are there, and you can see that they've moved across a little bit. So let's come back here. Horizontal offset, we'll just bring that back about halfway. There we go. That doesn't look too bad there. So what I'd aim for is, see the gap between the buttons is about 2 or 3 millimeters on my screen. So I'll come back a little bit more. That might be too much. There we go. Now the spacing between the X and the edge looks about the same as it does between each button. So it looks fairly nicely balanced. They might want to go up a little bit, so we'll just increase the title bar height. So let's take that up to 30. There we go. You can actually, I think also the vertical offset would have worked. So let's come back to the 28 or whatever that was at. And the vertical offset is 6. Let's just pump that up to 8. Oh, the wrong way. So go back down to, say, 4. There we are. They're sort of looking like they're balanced nicely there. So if you don't want to make the title bar any bigger, you can use the vertical offset to move them up and down. Like that. So we'll go back. I think 4 was sort of the optimum there. There we go. That looks pretty balanced in there to me. That look like they'll put there specifically for that. So now we've got our theme with our new buttons. So we'll press save. So this is demo 2 we're on. So let's just save it. There we go. So now if we go back, and if we go to any other theme, and we go back to our demo 2, we should get our nicely balanced buttons. Let's have a look at a few more. So they look like the same buttons again that we just did. For example, you might like that theme, but you just don't like the buttons. So Blue Planet, let's just save that as Blue Planet Demo 1. Save. And we'll go back. So there's Blue Planet Demo 1, which we're currently still running. So we'll just show Blue Planet is still running. So what we'll do, we'll just choose another random theme. And now if we go back here, these are still our Adonis buttons that we liked from before. So we're going to use the same buttons again. Well, how about we actually we'll try the solid slate ones this time. So let's copy these buttons. Copy. And there's our Blue Planet Demo 1. Let's paste those in. Now, actually, they may not work. These look like the icons that are there now, those buttons, look like a sort of default system button, but we won't know until we try. So where's our Blue Planet Demo 1? Let's have a look now. No. In fact, I'm pretty sure if we go Planet, there's the Blue Planet. So that's running. If we have a look now in theme, so it's not actually, there's no buttons in that theme. So it's using some sort of default. If we look at the screenshot, it's just using a system default type of button. So that's probably a bad example. So my guess would be that any of those default looking buttons are probably going to be the same. So that's Blue Planet. Let's find another one that's got those same looking buttons. There we go. So they look like the default. So what's that? Fogo. And now let's have a look and see if there's any buttons running in theme, which there's not. So they're like a system default. And you could probably change the ini file to do that. That's beyond the scope of my current capabilities in this video. Let's try this one. That's something different. So it's got these 3 stars. Let's have a look in here. So there they are. There's the buttons. So what we're going to do, once again, we'll save that theme. So star window theme, demo 1. We'll save it. Let's go back and we'll just click on something else again. And if we come to our buttons, in themes, we should now have star window. There it is, star window theme. There's its button, so we'll delete those buttons out. And we're going to use the solid slate ones again. So let's go select all those and paste them into that folder. There they are. And let's look at the theme, and now come down, we're looking for our star window demo 1. There it is. So it had the stars. And there you go. We'll see we've got the same issue there. We'll see if we can fix it. The horizontal is 2. Let's bring that out to 14. I sense this is going to crash again. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'll save it at that. And we'll go back and we'll just switch themes. We'll go with that one. We'll just jump around a little bit. And now we'll go back to our star window demo 1. No, so it just doesn't like those buttons. So we'll go to something else. And there it is, star window theme. So let's try the Adonis buttons. Just to see if I can redeem myself a little bit here. So let's copy those. And in here, we're going to delete them and paste those. And now let's go and have a look at our star window theme demo 1. So had the stars. The other ones didn't work. Let's see what these ones do. Voila, there we go. So now we can go into edit theme, a title bar. So I've pushed them too far over. So we'll bring this back to about there. We'll see what we get there. Yeah, maybe just a little bit more, down to 4. There we go, that's looking pretty good. The vertical offset, see they're sitting on the bottom, but there's a bit of a gap at the top. So let's move that up a little bit. There we go. And we could even make the title bar a little bit bigger. Is it getting bigger or not? There we go. And now we can push them back down the other way a little bit. Too much. You get the general idea. Now we've got these cool buttons on this theme. And we can still, if we want to change the, see there's that green colour. If that's a little bit bright for you, you can still change to a slightly different colour. And turn the intensity down a little bit. And we can save that. And there we go. We've got that theme now saved. There. So you can see the preview here doesn't, the screenshot doesn't represent what we've now got. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screenshot and we'll just go new. I'm actually going to reposition. You'll notice in most of the screenshots they're showing a little bit of the desktop just as a bit of context. So I'm just going to reposition the window down here somewhere where it just looks like it's got some, try and get a bit of that scenery in there like that. There we go. And I'm going to grab the whole desktop. I don't want the mouse pointer. And I'm going to give myself a couple of seconds, so 6 seconds to take the screenshot. I just want to hover over the button to show that, whoops, just want to hover over the button to show that they're coloured. We're going to save that picture, thumb, call it thumb 1. We'll call it thumb 1, we'll put that on the desktop. And let's just double click it. There's our picture. Now I'm going to right click that picture. So there's our thumbnail. We're going to right click it. I'm going to go open with Pix Image Viewer. So this is a default install of Linux Mint 21.1. So these applications should be present on your 21 system. There's our picture. If we click this little icon up the top here, we get a menu. It's come out a little bit far, but there's our menu. Let's hit crop. And this is our cropping area. So let's just resize the cropping area down to there somewhere. And we'll grab the other corner. So that represents what our screenshot's going to look like. And now we press crop. There's our saved image, or there's our crop. And we just go File, Save As, and I'll call it Thumb1 Crop. And we'll just save that on the desktop. Compression level 6, OK. And we can close out of there. So there's our thumbnail. We go back to the Emerald Themer. There's our incorrect image there. So let's go Edit Theme. And here, Theme Screenshot. Click on that. We go to the desktop. And we're looking for Thumb1 Crop. And we click Open. Presto. There it is. So we can also change here if you want to change your name there and so forth. So we might call it Star Window. We might call it Star Window Adonis, because I think we use the Adonis buttons on it, just so we know what it is. And we can save that now. And now when we go back to our themes, we have to scroll all the way to the bottom again. Star Window Theme Demo 1, there it is, and there's our screenshot. You can see the little bit of background there sort of adds a bit of context to the screenshot. As I say, most of the other screenshots are doing a similar thing there. And that actually doesn't look too bad. I'm not a big fan of the green, but I mean, I think that looks reasonable. If you don't like it, you can go back to that one straight away, or whatever you want to do. Now, the reason we had to scroll all the way down all the time is because all the themes, you can, and I'll do it here now. So let's just start the software manager again, and I'll close the Emerald Themer down for the moment. We type Emerald. We click on the Emerald Themes. And we hit Remove. I wouldn't recommend doing this until you've at least got, enough of the themes you think you're going to want. Otherwise, you're going to have to reinstall all the themes again. So you can see the check mark's gone. And now let's start Emerald back up, and there'll only be 3 or 4 themes that we've saved into it. And there it is. So now we don't have to do all that scrolling. Now if we don't want it, if we don't want that one, we can click on it and press delete like that. So that one's gone. And now if we actually go back to our folder, our themes folder, it's actually gone. So if we delete another one, Blue Planet Demo 1, Blue Planet Demo 1. So let's click delete and say yes, and there the file just disappeared there as well. So now we've just got our 2 themes. And the same thing, that will still load whichever theme there that we're running. It will load into you can see that update there, the file's all updated. It still loads them into the theme folder when you're running that particular theme. So let's now import as I say, I wouldn't delete all the themes, all the default themes out until you've at least saved enough that you think you're going to be happy with. Otherwise, you're going to have to just reinstall them all the time. Or if you're not bothered about having to scroll down every time you make a change. But that's just, all I've done is just shown you can remove all those other themes and just work with the ones that you've got. We can also import. So I've downloaded a few from various websites into my downloads folder. So let's just have a look. We'll just do that top one first. Vista Blue Black. There it is there. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at it on the file manager. There we go. Looks a bit different. Let's import again. And from downloads, let's try Longhorn. There's Longhorn. A little bit different. There's a couple more there. We'll just run through them while we're here. Win 7 Dark. Where's that one gone? Win 7 Dark. There we go. That's nice. Bit of the old Windows 7 look. Let's do a few more. Downloads. Tron. This should be interesting. Where's that one gone there? Well, that was different than what I expected. There's a couple more left. This is one that I use myself, Qogir. Let's have a look at that. There we go. You get these red buttons when you hover over them there, or the red X. And so that's the one I actually use on my system. And I think this one will be pretty similar to mine as well. It's got my buttons onto a different theme. So that was a theme called Solid Slate, which we had earlier on. But it's now got my buttons. And I've probably darkened or lightened it up a little bit, whatever I've done there. Let's go back to that one because we made it. Let's just edit. Let's try it with a different engine. Ooh, that changed quite a bit, didn't it? Try it with True Glass. No. We'll go back to VRunner. There we go. Just change the colour. Let's go with a little bit of a brown tinge. So there you can see colours, that's the left, so it's a bit brownish over there, a bit yellow in the centre and a bit green over there. So let's go and change, we'll just change that to red to switch it up a bit. And there we go, brown, yellow, red. And then obviously we can increase the intensity with the sliders. But I haven't saved that, so if we go back to themes, we click on something else and we come back, that's back to the greenish. That's now back to the greenish yellowish sort of look. So there you have it. There's a bit of a look at changing some of the themes, editing a few of the bits and pieces that you can do in there. Now we still didn't touch it here on the buttons. If we go on into the files, we go to .emerald. So in here is my Qogir. Where is it? There's Qogir. So what we're going to do, let's bring this button here in. So the close button on this current theme is this button here. We can clear that. If we press clear, that'll disappear. There we go. So the close button there is none, or we could have just clicked on there. And now if we go Control H in here, and I go to .emerald, and we go to themes, and there's the Qogir, and there's the close button. So there's a preview of it over there. No guarantee it'll work, but it did. So there you go. So we've changed up just one button. Again, we'd need to go to the title bar. I mean, it doesn't look very nice there like that. And you can see the bottom of it's cut off. So we can just increase the height, take that up to 25 or something. And that looks, it fits in there a little bit better now. But that's just one button. And if we want to go back, we can just click on here. Go back to Emerald. We'll go to Theme because that's where it is. And we want button close. Oh no, it's actually added the other one to it. So what we'd have to do, in this case we haven't saved. Let's just save it anyway. Close. So now that's that one there. So it's now got the wrong button. But I know where the button is, so let's go edit theme. And now the close button, there it is there, but what we're going to do is if we go to themes, we're looking for the one with Pint Blue Demo, I think. Button close. There we go. So let's go open. There we go. And we've got the button back again now. Press save. Yes. So it's now added that button back in. And we'll come back. There we go. So there's one other setting I haven't shown yet, and if we go, we're on our theme, we go to Edit Themes, and in Title Bar, down here, so let's click in there, let's select all that text, and I'm just going to Control X, I'm going to cut that text out, and if we go here, let's try the top one. Quite often nothing seems to happen with that one. Let's go to the bottom one, and you'll see what happens up the top. Our buttons switch sides, so if you want to turn your buttons over the other side, you can use that text there. Now there's a bit of an explanation here what they mean. So you can probably change the order of the buttons. So C is close, N is minimize. So if we move those around, so C and X, let's just change that to X and C, and there they are. They've moved around. I don't know, what have I done there? XCN I think I want. CN. There we go. You can just, anyway, you get the general idea. So by changing all that out, you can change the system. Now we're just going to delete that, and we'll copy the original back in, and we're back to how we were. So I'd recommend, if you're going to play around with that whatever's default in there, just copy that into a text file and then start playing around and see what sort of effects you can give yourself there. What we might do is, let's bring up the colour selection dialog, and what we will do, we'll grab this little eyedropper, and we're going to select a bit of this green colour. Now it's going to be a bit difficult because it's transparency there, so we'll just pick a random spot, say there. So there's our colour name, is this hash number. So let's copy that. Now let's go to the panel, right click the panel and go to its properties. We go to background. We're going to use a solid colour, and here where it says color, we'll click on that and we'll go to custom, and in there we're going to paste our little number that we got before, and there we have it. And then if we just wind this down a little bit here, hopefully we'll get a little bit better match. It probably clashes a little bit with the blue in the background there with the desktop, but if we bring this down and set it near the panel, it's currently highlighted, but if we click on the desktop, we can see they're actually fairly close looking there. So if you want to match it up, you can use the color palette tool and select your color like we've just done there, and then just turn the transparency down a little bit. So the panel's looking pretty similar. Personally, I probably want it a little bit darker, like that. I don't think the menu's going to be that color, no. But nonetheless, the panel is sort of matching a little bit now, if that's what you want to do. We can also export. So this is the theme that we've made today, and click on it. Go to theme settings. There it is. There is the export button, and just onto the desktop will do. Usually get an error calling tar, close. But there it is there, and .emerald on the end of it, and then obviously you can just import as we did before. You can just import, and there it is there to import it back in. I've been using Emerald for a few years now, and the error doesn't seem to matter. I can import those into another computer, or I have to rebuild the computer. I've made a copy of my own themes. I'll also put some links in the description for some of these other ones that we imported. I didn't make these, some of them I did. So there'll be a few links in the description to various websites where you can get some .emerald themes. And just a final note, there's a few apps that don't respond. I know Discs is one of them. It doesn't respond. I think it even responds a little bit differently to the actual theming on Linux Mint. Celluloid's another one. See, that's got its own theming going there as well. So yeah, there are a few apps that don't actually follow the theming. They behave a bit differently. Most of the applications are going to follow along fairly nicely with whatever theme you decide you want to use. So there we have the Emerald Themer, one-click themes. We've modified some of these. Some of them we've just imported and used them as they were. There's the one we modified and ended up with. And we've still got some of these other ones. Mixed and matched some buttons, adjust title bars and backgrounds, give ourselves a little bit more area to grab the windows and resize them. Various other things that we've covered in the video. The rest of it's up to you to go through all these settings and tweak them and find out what else you can create on your own system.